Now, for the purpose and the context of supporting documentation, the purpose is to develop and provide any documentation necessary to operate, support, or use a software system. That's the whole purpose. Why is it needed? Well, the developer will develop a system and deliver it, okay? We know that. It will be deployed. Then somebody will need to learn it and use it. Somebody will need to operate it. Somebody will need to support it. Somebody will need to maintain it and modify it. All of these people will need to know about the system in some fashion. The point of supporting documentation is not to write a user manual, but to provide the information that each of these different people need to do what they need to do. So the question is, what are you going to tell these people and how are you going to tell them? The context for this process is that by now, the objectives of the various stakeholders are probably reasonably well known. However, it's likely that the objectives of the people, the target audience for the different documentation, may not be recorded, so you may have to go and find out. The constraints, well, you're going to have constraints on the delivery medium, the development tools, the schedule, and the budget. There are some very obvious constraints. In a big system delivered to an organization, for example, you can probably afford to have printed manuals. Now, whether that's printed on PDF or printed physically is a different matter. But you could probably afford to have manuals. With software that's delivered on a smartphone, you're not going to have manuals. So how are you going to get the documentation there? The schedule and budget, well, that's in many ways up to you. Usually there is, like testing, never enough time to do as much documentation as you need, and there's never enough budget, so we do that. Risks that you're dealing with, the risk of not getting it done, the quality and the knowledge. There's always a risk that what knowledge was expressed in the early documents, like the requirements and the architecture and user interface specification and things like that, is not what actually gets built. So there's a risk that what is specified is not what's built, and that matters to documentation.